my name is Steve Garrity, and this is an analysis of the craft brew industry within the United States. This analysis was prepared on behalf of Budweiser and in association with my colleague, Richard Palmer. So we were given two data sets, one with beers and their characteristics, and another with breweries and their locations, and then we added a third, which was state census data. We merged all these data together to provide some exploratory data analysis. Then at the end of our analysis, we identified what we think is an underserved market where Budweiser could focus if they want to participate in the domestic craft brew industry. So looking at a map of the number of breweries per state, you can see that Colorado stands out as having the most number of breweries. Rerunning the analysis on a per capita basis, you can see that the pattern changes a bit, where we have the Rocky Mountain region or Rocky Mountain states standing out as having the highest number of breweries per capita. Keep that in mind, it'll factor in a little later. So when we first explored the data, we did find that ABV and IBU had some missing values. ABV had 2.6% of the observations missing. IBU had a whopping 42% of the observations missing. So we went ahead and filled those missing values. For ABV, we just looked at the beer style, took the median ABV of that beer style, and used that to infill the missing value. For IBU, we fitted a regression tree model using ABV and beer style as inputs to predict the missing IBU values. We calculated the median ABV and the median IBU by state. You can see in the top that there's not a lot of variation in ABV across the states. Somewhere around 5 to 6% is a typical median value. For IBU, we do have some extreme outliers on the high side. That would be Delaware and West Virginia had the really high median IBU values. And just looking at states with the maximum ABV and maximum IBU, we found that Colorado had the highest ABV at 12.8% and Oregon had the highest IBU at 138. Looking at the diverging bar chart on the extreme left side of the screen, you can see that there are 3 states that are outliers in terms of their maximum ABV values. That includes Colorado, Kentucky, and Indiana. Next, we examined the distribution of ABV values and found that there was a touch of right skew to that distribution. It wasn't extreme though. The mean and the median ABV were pretty close at 6% and 5.6%. Next, we explored the relationship between IBU and ABV, and we found that there was a moderate positive correlation between these two variables across all the beers. We did run this analysis twice, once using filled data, once using the unfilled data, but we didn't see a dramatic difference in the outcome. Next, we focused in specifically on IPAs and other ales. And we just wanted to do a visual check to make sure that using filled values didn't alter this relationship dramatically, and indeed it looks like it doesn't, so we proceeded using the filled values. Okay, so looking at the distributions of ABV on the left, IBU on the right, for both IPAs in the red and other ales in the blue, we can see that there are some differences in those distributions. Not dramatic for ABV, but for IBU, it's very clear that IPAs have a higher distribution of IBU. We went ahead and ran a t-test, and we did find that in both cases, for ABV and IBU, that the difference between the two populations was statistically significant. Next, we used a K&N model to see if we could predict whether or not a beer was an IPU or a different kind of ale, just using IBU and ABV as inputs. So we fit a K&N model several times using different values of K, between 1 and 50, and what we found is that a K of 14 provided the best overall performance in terms of overall accuracy, sensitivity, and specificity. We did explore a few other models to see how they compared to K&N, just to see if K&N was the best model, and indeed across our 3 metrics of performance, sensitivity, specificity, and overall accuracy, K&N was the best performer. All right, so looking at where we think Budweiser could target additional investment, either in new beers or in additional marketing, we filtered the states by saying, just looking at states that had populations greater than 5 million and states that had less than the median number of breweries per capita. So the intersection of those two data sets gives us the map at the bottom of your screen with 11 states colored in red. These we're calling states to target. So going one level deeper, we wanted to see if there was any natural clustering within these 11 states. So we fed a KNN model, median IBU, ABV, the IBU to ABV ratio, and the number of breweries per capita to see if clusters emerged. And indeed, fitting a k-means clustering algorithm several times with different values of k indicated that there are 4 distinct clusters within this subset of 11 states. Now, looking at how those clusters fall out in terms of median ABV and median IBU, we see some separation here, where we have Georgia, Florida, and New York. That's cluster 4. Those tend to be states with high ABV, high IBU beers. Going down just below that, the states in the blue, that would be cluster 2, and those are states that already have high ABV but moderate IBU beers. Below that, the red states, Missouri, Texas, Maryland, and Illinois, those are states that have high ABV beers, but they also have low IBU beers. And then New Jersey is very distinct, having both low ABV beers as well as moderate IBU beers. So when we combine the analysis from k-means with our classifier from KNN, we can suggest what beer styles might go over well in these markets. So for cluster number 4, which would be Georgia, Florida, and New York, according to our KNN classifier, an IPA style beer would likely go over best there. For clusters 2 and 1, that would be the blue and the red states, we recommend a higher alcohol ale. And for New Jersey, we would recommend a lower alcohol ale. Overall, we have found that the craft beer industry is alive and well across the entire country, but is certainly most popular within the Rocky Mountain states. We found that there are modest variations in alcohol content and bitterness throughout the United States, and that those variations correlate really well with beer style. Finally, we've identified 11 states that we think are potentially underserved and where Budweiser could focus some investment. Thank you.